So you can watch it back via our website, probably from next week onwards if you wanted to. I'll just wait for a couple more people to join, and then we will get started. So I think we'll go for it now. So as I say, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. This is our CEP Innovate Health webinar series. And this is the fourth and final session in the series. So thank you if you've joined our previous ones. If you're new to the series, that's absolutely fine. And as I say, you can catch up with the recordings of the previous sessions. The purpose of this webinar series is to give you a bit of inspiration to encourage you to develop your own innovative ideas within healthcare. And if you have an idea already, then hopefully it's given you a few pointers and a bit of direction to refine that idea. So we have looked at so far sort of different types of innovation, examples of innovation from some of the entrepreneurs on our programme. We've looked at identifying problems and really trying to understand and research those problems. And then in our most recent session, we were looking at the lean canvas approach to planning, which was on Tuesday. So this particular session is focused on the topic of pitching and sort of articulating your innovative idea. So we are very lucky to be joined by John Torrens today, who will introduce himself properly in a moment, but hopefully you can see him on your screen in a minute. And thank you, John. And also on the call, we'll just show this here. We have Tamsin Holland-Brown, who, if you joined our previous sessions, you will have heard speak. So thank you, Tamsin. She is a co-clinical lead for our programme, as well as a paediatrician and founder of Hear Glue Ear Innovation. And we also have Polly Sullivan, who is programme lead for the Clinical Entrepreneur Programme. If you have any questions in this session, there will be the opportunity to sort of ask questions towards the end, but you're welcome to type in the chat. And we do hope there'll be some interactivity as well. So you're welcome to turn your cameras on for that or throughout. It's completely up to you. But I will hand over, well, I'll stop sharing and I will hand over to John, if that's okay. Thank you, John.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much, Jenny. If you could all switch your cameras on, it would really help me out, because currently, whilst the faces I can see is wonderful, it's kind of like yelling into a void. And I can do that. You know, I'm okay with that. But yeah, if you could switch cameras, that would be great. Thank you. Then it just helps a little bit. Excellent. Look at that. Wonderful. Okay, great. So hello, I'm John. I teach confident communication. I'm going to talk to you and share some ideas over the next probably just under an hour or so. And then I'm going to ask some of you to pitch, to give us your innovative idea in just about a minute. Keep it nice and short, and then you can ask me questions, and then that's it, and then that's the end. So the key things I think I want to look at today are, well, there's basically what you say and how you say it. That would be a very broad breakdown. And within the what you say and the content, I'll look at how to be convincing with your team and the material and talking about your experience and the story. And then in the terms of delivery, it's how to engage an audience and basically how to be persuasive. So let me give you a proper intro then. So I think the best communication at its heart has a story, and I'll come back to the stories later on. So I'll give you my story. I'll keep it fairly short. So at school, didn't do brilliantly academically. I liked art and I liked writing stories. And I was generally a little bit shy, particularly into my teen years. And so I left school wanting to do art. I thought art would be my thing. I grew up in Cheltenham and Bristol, did a graphic design course in London, and I'd got interested in video editing at the same time. So I left college thinking I'd be a video editor. And then a friend of mine got a job at a video games company and invited me along for an interview, and I got a job as a level designer. And this is back in the early 90s. At the same time, I decided I would try stand-up comedy because it's this sort of terrifying, tantalizing thing. And it's highly addictive, stand-up comedy, because the way my brain is wired, like it's almost certainly ADHD. I haven't been diagnosed, but it's, it's a pinball machine, and difficult to sort of retain information, which made, full-time education really hard, and full-time employment, to be honest. But anyway, that's another story. And so if you don't fully understand how the world works, the unequivocal approval of strangers is a powerful drug. And people think, oh, it requires a lot of courage to do stand-up, and it does. It's immense courage. It indicates that I had a lot of courage, but it also indicates a massive need for validation. So I did those two things side by side. I count myself as an introvert, so like a sort of introverted superhero. By day, I was designing video games levels, and by night, I was going out and trying to make people laugh for money and attention. And then, after about 10 years of doing those two things, my partner and I decided to move in together, and I thought I would do stand-up full time. So I did that for a couple of years, got better at it, didn't break through and become a stand-up star, went back to video games, and that was fine. And we moved to Ely, which is where we live now, near Cambridge, and started a family, got married. I saw someone at Sony Computer Entertainment, where I was working, giving a terrible presentation a few years later, and so I thought, oh, they could do with what I've learned. They need a good story, and they need to deliver it as if they're a human being. And this idea bubbled around for a while, and then I decided I would take the plunge and set up on my own. And so that was about 13 years ago, and it's worked. So I'm self-employed and making money, so that's good. And so I've kind of found my place in the world, and I basically take a lot of what I've learned from stand-up in terms of writing and delivery, and I brought it over to business, and that's the sort of clever trick that I've managed to do. I'm not particularly interested in trying to make people funny. I mean, we can talk about that, but it's a dangerous game. So yeah, we can touch on that. But that's not the main thing. It's about effective communication. Okay, and other things you should know. So I'm married with two children. Our daughter is 14, our son is 17. I love science fiction. I like video games, comics, Marvel, the Dark Knight trilogy, anything from the 80s. So particularly comedy. So I like Blackadder and Rick Mayall and things like that. And I'm a hip hop music fan. So there you go. So that's me. And I'm currently hooked on a Pokemon game, which is another thing. So yeah, so let's get into it. So I think the first thing then is what's the point when you're giving a pitch? And by that I don't mean why bother. I mean what's the reason? What's the thing that you're trying to get across? And this can be quite tricky to identify. But if you can get that right, then everything else can hang from that, and you can use that as a filter. Jonathan Chappell, you've got this occasional red flash that happens and I'm guessing it's a dodgy cable connection. And I simply, sorry, I just got to mention it. It's for the good of the group. It's not because I'm easily distracted. Although it's stopped now. So, oh, there it is. There it is again. Good. That's fine. It's a glitch in the system. Yeah, finding out what it is, and that can take a while to work out what the main thing is that you're selling. But if you can crack that, then I find that really works. So starting with the end in mind is really, really useful. How do you want your audience to feel when they've finished? What's the key thing that you want them to take away? And as a first step, oh, and by the way, oh, I do have a cunning plan. Yeah, I do, Alfred. Thank you so much. Sorry, I was going to say, hey, make sure you use the chat, and someone has set me up. Thank you, Helen. That was brilliant. I saw you giggling earlier on. I thought, what's going on? There's tomfoolery and shenanigans, and it was there. Brilliant. Thank you. Yeah, I do. And always good to have the full script just in case you need any quotes. Or yeah. All good. Yeah, that's that. Right. Given that we're assuming you're an expert on your subject, expert on your field, expert on your particular idea, is great. But in fact, I'm going to ask this as a direct question because I think this is a good way to keep people engaged. What's a good first step? And I'm going to cue you up. I'm going to give you a clue. In terms of research, what could you do? So when you're creating your pitch, what research could you do? I mean, you're an expert, but what could you learn more about? Off you go. Fire something at me and I will attempt to respond. Bingo, straight. Wow, Diane, no messing around. Straight in. 30 points to Gryffindor. Just unbelievable. There's no, don't be silly, Diane. There is no point system. There is a point system. There is a point.
Sorry, I've got to leave if there's no points.
All right, no, there absolutely is a point system. Okay, good. Right, competition, yes. Demand, yes. Yeah, finding out where this idea sits. Has anyone else done it before? But I think also just being up to date in your knowledge of that area, you might think you know it all, I'm sure you do, but there could be something new. There could be something there. I think if you can refer to that, it shows that you've got your, finger on the pulse, so to speak, that you're aware of what's going on. Certainly, competition demand. Is there a space for this? As I said, has someone else done it before? And some facts and figures to back that up is brilliant. Users, novelty, yeah. The thing I'm really after is the audience. But first thing would be knowing your area inside out, knowing the market inside out, and then yes, it's your audience. What could you learn about them? This is just another direct question. What would be useful to know about your audience? Because I've just said, pitch. That could be anything. But what would be good to know about your audience? Yeah, their pressure pain point. Bingo. Right. So that's one I'm a big fan of. Do they hold the purse strings? Yes. Sector, age range, price range. Fantastic. So there are the basics of who are they, what do they know, what's their level of expertise. Do you have to explain the basics of your thing to them, or are they an expert and can you just jump straight in? Yeah, so level of knowledge. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's a good point. Who you're pitching to could be very different to your end users. Now, simplifying stuff, going from specialist to generalist might feel like dumbing down, but it's not. It's a great skill, and people who do know your area and topic inside out will really appreciate you being able to articulate a complex thing in a simple way. Try explaining it to someone who you know who is outside the industry, or to an elderly relative or a child, or just someone who just maybe doesn't have any of that context. Keep it nice and simple. Explain to them what that thing is, why it makes a difference. How many of them of your audience they're going to be, yeah, and will they actually have purchasing power? I think if you're armed with that, it really helps. If you know specifically who's going to be there, if you've got some names, then that's brilliant, because then you can look them up on LinkedIn. You can Google them. I like to look at people I'll look at their website, see if I understand what that is. Excuse me. On LinkedIn, the profile might go back decades, right? And you can find what's the through line. And it's basically finding out what makes them tick. If you can appeal to that, then I think that could be really, really persuasive. What are they about? If they're on LinkedIn or online, yeah, if there's anything there, you can find them and use that. Okay. So then it comes to writing the stuff, making the material. Now, I'm a big fan of getting an idea down and then trying to verbalize it, which is why I like the idea of talking to someone who's outside the industry, or outside that area, to see if you can help them understand it. So I have two stages to this. I call it sketch method and speak to write. And the idea with sketch method is you write down the areas of your talk. So let's say you've got maybe 5 sections, for argument's sake. You write them down on separate pieces of paper. Now, those could be index cards like this. I have a real thing for stationery. It could be post-it notes, scraps of paper, whatever it is. Now, as a first version, you might do a mind map, and there's something about pen and paper that's quite sort of liberating. It's using more parts of your brain, but that's static. If you have the ideas on separate pieces of paper, it's fluid. You can move it around, because that's what fluid means, and you can experiment with the order. And this is the key thing. You look at the sequence and see, right, what is the key thing? Does this order make sense? It could be very simple as problem solution, but you might want to give a load of context first. You might want to kick off with a story. You might have some killer, brilliant thing that you're saving to the end as a finale. That might be a really good thing to have at the start. So you experiment with the structure, look for areas of duplication so that you can consolidate those. And what's vital is that you're being ruthless and editing it right down. So later on, when I get you to pitch, I'm going to give you a 1-minute limit, which is ridiculous, right? That'll feel counterintuitively short. How could you possibly get it across in that time? Well, it seems to me that the more senior someone is, the less information they want. And there's some guy called Tony Young, I don't know if you've heard of him, who's annoyingly good at taking your idea and firing it back at you in a really simplified way. So if you ever get a chance, obviously, I'm sure you will, get him to do that for you. But he can see through to these key things. You know, this is the issue. We've got this amazing idea. It will fix this, and it'll do it with these benefits. And it's something that you can hone. So you get your first sequence. You think this works. This makes sense, and then you do a quick run through, and you articulate it verbally. What do you suppose are the, and this is a direct question, what do you suppose are some key benefits of saying the words out loud? Because even if this is actually no, your pitch is going to be really short anyway, so it doesn't matter. Let's say your run through only takes a minute or so. What do you get? What do you gain from saying the words out loud as part of the writing process? Yeah, clarity straight away. You can start to finesse it. More confidence, yeah, because you've started practicing the thing that you're going to be doing. I find a lot of people will write something out and they think, oh, I've got it, but they haven't ever delivered it. There's something about saying the words out loud that enables you to get the flow. So clarity and fluidity, where you see, oh yeah, this doesn't quite fit. This doesn't work in this place, and you can change it. I think it also starts to embed the material. So you're starting to memorize it better. You get an idea of how long it's going to take. And again, that's a really big deal because it might feel to you like it has to be 5 minutes long at least. You need a version that is super, super short. It can also give you, I find, an insight. So there's a technique used by programmers, almost specifically in Cambridge, although some people have heard it outside of Cambridge, called rubber duck engineering. And the process is simply you describe the problem that you've got, and whatever it is, to an inanimate object, which in this case is a rubber duck, which you have on your desk. And as you've probably worked out, the process of describing the problem often enables the solution to bubble up because you already actually knew what the solution was, but saying it out loud. It's like if you want to know a subject really well, you try and teach somebody else that subject. And I think you can gain that where you do a run through of your pitch and you realize, because you're being kind of conversational about it, oh, this is all about, and there can be something really simple and broad and high level, which could be saving time, saving money, saving lives. A really good, tangible outcome. And if that comes to you, then you can open with that and say, right, I've got a thing that will say, here's the problem, and my solution will give us this broad thing, which almost anyone can understand. Your possible investors could be from any industry, but there will be some universals, which obviously will appeal to them. So you deliver it and then go and iterate on that and experiment with the structure. And the key thing here is that it's before you've become emotionally involved with your material. So you can be ruthless. So you can look at it and think, well, this doesn't work. This section needs to go. This word is a problem. I've got to change that. Particular parts of vocabulary can be an issue. And it enables you to quickly get to a first version. Would any of you use, sorry, would any of you use slides for your pitch? Or are we saying this is more for Tamsin and Polly and everyone else? Would slides be a thing? I guess it's a possibility, isn't it?
It is, sorry, I couldn't, mute button. So occasionally, initially, everybody is encouraged to be able to give their pitch without any slides. And then because that works so well, then quite a lot of the time there are opportunities for people to then pitch for longer. So maybe in the 5 minute, and then occasionally it's like 2-3 slides, but still quite limited.
Yes, good, excellent, good. So
if you do something to a senior group or something, or investors, we encourage people to use a really minimum number of slides. So there's not like, death by PowerPoint or whatever.
Excellent, good. So that's key. So I love that. I'm key things for me are authenticity and conciseness. Benefit of authenticity is you're being yourself. It's just more interesting for your audience. For you, it's just easier because you're not trying to filter, but the conciseness aspect is vital, because no one ever said, oh, I wish that pitch had gone on a bit longer, right? We want things nice and short. We want short emails, Zoom calls, meetings, everything. It can take a while to get it right, but if you can make things more concise, it's much better. And the benefit for you is you're just creating less material. So I'm really interested in the slides aspect, because with this method I've described, this sketch method and speak to write, you should be able to get to a first draft within 20 minutes, really. And I like to think you can start with that and have a pitch that works without any visuals. I certainly wouldn't want you to ever rely on them. If further down the line a slide would really help, then that's fantastic. But I'd like to think that you can pitch pretty much anything without slides and merit interest that maybe would mean that you need to produce them later on. But that initial pitch has to be enough where we just think, oh yeah, this is interesting, I want to know more. So with that technique, your output can be, again, key headings. If it's really short, then they can just be in a sequence, and then you just need to make sure you're delivering them without too much material per section. So when you've got that sequence that works, it's timing it and making sure, right, this bit isn't going on for too long. If it's a longer piece, let's say you're doing 5 to 10 minutes, I would expect you to have timings for each section, so that with a clock on your a stopwatch function on your phone, you could check and see this is where we're at, we need to move on to the next section. But I think with enough practice and with really good ruthless editing, you should be able to create a nice concise bit of material that you can deliver that only takes a minute or two, depending on the format, but without you rushing. Okay, so that's what I would expect the output to be. And the other thing with doing it in this way, because I think creating slides while creating a talk, or using the slides as a basis, it's a bit like writing a play by building the set, at the same time. It's just sort of a bit clunky. If you do it this way round, you avoid all slides until you've got the talk working and you've got the meaning and the sequence, and it all works. Making the slides is a dream, because then oh right, I need a slide for this, slide for this, slide for this. If you do it the other way around, which most people do, you'll probably reach a point where you think, oh, I've got to throw this away. I've got to get rid of that bit. And you've spent ages on it. And you think, oh, I don't want to throw it away. I spent an hour on it. And so this broken structure remains. Okay. So what to put in there? What content to have? I think, how many? I'm thinking, yeah, would anyone do any of their things solo, or is there always a team, or is it that you've got associates? How does it? What other people would be mentioned in the? Yeah, Diane, I saw that. What's? Yeah, are there teams, or are you? Is it that it's just you and solo? Brilliant, good. Okay, that's fantastic. Okay. If you do have investors on board, then obviously mentioning them, talking about their experience is wonderful. But if not, then it's you and experience, validating credibility. And how would you do that? What's a direct question? What's a good way of proving your amazing value and credibility? Clue, I mentioned it earlier on. I mentioned it as the key to, or possibly the heart of good communication. Yeah, knowing your stuff, certainly. But how could you prove that you know your stuff? Experience and feel. There you go. Good. So all your experience, a story would be fantastic. That was the thing I was aiming for. Give a story. Well done. Stories. Good. Yeah, I've said it now. So no, it's fine. No. Yeah, story of that experience. Yeah, all that unique story is always interesting. Case study for definite. Yeah, that's the ultimate proof, isn't it? It's yeah, here's this thing I've done, here's what I learned, here's that experience. So I'm a big fan of the elements of non-verbal communication. And you could argue, I mean, I talked about what the point of the pitch is. You could argue that there's your idea, there's this amazing innovation, but there's also you, right? So it's proving what your value is. You could argue that a possible investor, they're interested in your innovation, they're interested in your idea, they want to see it, but they're also looking at you and thinking, well, can you deliver this thing? It's possible, I mean, this is true for all kinds of different sectors, but it's possible that someone might look at it and think, well, I'm not especially keen on the idea, but I like you and I like what you've done, and then they bear you in mind and something else comes up. So being able to demonstrate all those things that you've done, all your experience is fantastic. And yeah, a good little case study would really work. Now, in your minute or so, obviously that's tough, but mentioning one area of one good experience would really help with that. Okay, so what else? So we're at good. Right, so grabbing attention, how to kick things off. There's a great series of a group of ways of engaging an audience, which is Aristotle's 3 pillars. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with these. And these were the pillars of persuasion in speech making. But I think you should absolutely use them in your pitch and use them to kick off your pitch. So they are logos, ethos, and pathos. So pathos, literally feeling, it's that emotional response. And it's triggering that by maybe mentioning a subject. You might show an image, but it's getting a response. So how do you feel when I mention this thing, or mentioning a particular subject? Getting a response that way. That's a great way to engage an audience. And additional layer to this is asking a question, right? So questions are a great way to engage, but a question using some pathos is really good. Ethos is how you operate. So it's letting the audience know, this is my MO, this is my motivation, this is the reason I'm doing this, this is what makes me tick. If that resonates with any of your audience, then you're in a great place. So you might be familiar with Simon Sinek's Start With Why, the idea that people talk about, companies talk about what they do and how they do it, but rarely do they open up with why. Example he gives is Apple, who arguably just make computers, but they'll open up with, we want beautiful computers that are easy to use, at which point they'll say, oh, that's me, I want some of that. So if your ethos, your motivation, your goal resonates with your audience, then they're going to be on board before you've even given them the idea, which is great. If your idea, your company is also aligned with that, then it just looks good. It sort of all fits together, and they can see, okay, so this is your desire, your goal. Oh, and this is the thing that you've created that goes with it, which is really good. So starting with the ethos is really good. And then finally, logos, which is logic. So it's empirical evidence, facts and figures. So you might start off with, how many of these do you think happened last year? Whatever the thing is. And people want to know. They want to know, what is that stat? I want to know, did I get it right? Did everyone else get it wrong? If I got it right, if I got it wrong, I hope everyone else got it wrong. You ask them that direct question. You say, it's 97%, whatever it is. Immediately, you've got something really solid there, and you've got them engaged, and maybe you've shown, well, I guess you've shown a gap in their knowledge, or you've flattered them by the fact that they do know about this particular thing. Either way, you've got some good engagement there. So a bit of logos is really good. And this is, again, comes back to that research. So yes, know your topic. I'm scrolling up, and there was something there. Yes. Audience level of knowledge. No, it's gone. Okay. Having that knowledge of what's happening and having the figures to hand is great. You've all seen Dragon's Den. So-and-so is in trouble. Deborah Meaden wants to know about the specifics, and it turns out they've sort of fluffed it. And Peter Jones is interested and all that. So it was a long time ago when I watched it. So having that all to hand is really good, and grabbing them with it straight away is fantastic. Again, I've got another image of Tony, again, just slowly, even though it's over a minute, slowly delivering this percentage of these things is happening, and it's costing the NHS this amount of money, or it's cost a huge amount. We've got a solution that fixes that by, yeah, so there was one from a couple of years ago, which was reducing waiting times. But there were specific stats. And I thought, oh, that is good. Like, it's, you know, whatever, it was a really impressive percentage. Yeah, so having that, being armed with that is really good. Okay, right. So what else in the thing itself? This is the thing. Would any of you have a physical product? Yes, you probably would, wouldn't you? You've got oh, sorry, I was going to say a widget. That's really, a thing. Would you have if you've got a physical thing, then my goodness, if you can produce that, fantastic. So as a prop, so how many people would have a prop? So I'm all excited about it, but if there's only like, I mean, I'll mention it anyway, but anyone? Yeah, yes, no, good, okay. I think if you've got one of that, if you've got a thing that you can physically, you know, if it's not enormous, if you've got a thing that you can produce, immediately you've transferred a lot of information into your audience's head, right? I've seen people do presentations where they've got a slide and they've got a lovely shot of their thing, but I can't tell how big it is, right? So it's just meaningless. Whereas the thing, like, you've got immediate engagement, you can pass it around, people can look at it, but they can immediately see size, texture, weight, everything else, and that's just wonderful. So if you've got a physical object, that can be really handy. What else was I thinking in terms of the thing? Okay, no, I think that was it. So, oh yeah, sorry. So grabbing someone's attention. So kicking off, that would be a great way to do it. Like, here's this thing. This is what it is. In a really short 1-minute pitch, you wouldn't necessarily have to ask questions. In something longer, I would definitely recommend that you do. Maybe you just kick off with one at the beginning at the very least. But then wrapping up, well, what's a good way to conclude? Hit me with your neat wrapping up, because if it kind of tails off, then I've seen people deliver like a really good idea and I think this is so good, I'm on board, and then they just say, yes, so I think we're good, and it's just, you know, it just doesn't. It's terrible. So an ask, yeah, damn straight, yeah, this is, I mean, and that might even be the thing to begin with, which is, you know, I want this, or, you know, I'm asking for this, whatever it is, and then I'm going to prove what it is. So at the end, yeah, an ask is good. Anything else? Okay, I'm thinking summing up, key points, mission statement was good. Yes, we're here to change this. A call back to your mission statement at the beginning. This is me, and I'm here to transform this aspect of healthcare through a thing. And it's inspiring stuff. And then at the end, and that's how I'm going to transform healthcare using this thing. Like, it's just neat. It's a callback. It works. So yeah, finishing with that stirring thing. But so the ask, it could be a call to action, which is, if you're interested, do this thing, right? They're excited. The simplest one is probably come and talk to me and ask me some questions, right? Because then people can learn from it. But you might have something online that they can look at, any kind of materials online that they can easily look at. So a call to action is really good. And then finally, thank you, right? So sum up, call to action, thank you, see what happens. It could be that you've got some, yeah, it could be that, you know, a Q&A could be really effective, but you know, there might not be any questions at the end. Great results. Yeah, I mean, that's the killer. Again, I keep going back to the Dragon's Den, which again I've not seen for a long time, but the dragons are unsure and they go, oh, I've sold 3 million of these already. Like, oh, the dragons are interested. Of course they are, because that's what they care about, is money. So yeah, any evidence like that, I mean, that's a winner. I would actually, arguably, I would open with that and say, yeah, I've had this, you know, here's this problem statistic. I've delivered this solution with this statistic, right? Already you're kind of, you know, you've done the really, really high level stuff, and then it's just validating. Good. Okay, so right at the end, just tying it together, tying it back to what you'd mentioned at the start, just feels very neat, can really work. Good. Right. I think that was it. And yeah, and then the other thing then is being ruthless with your editing, right? If in doubt, cut it out, right? Show it to someone else and see where you can really slice and dice, because one's perception of how fast time is elapsing goes out the window, right? I can pretty much guarantee I'll ask you, I'll say, look, 1 minute, and 2 minutes later, you'll still think you're only 45 seconds in or something. Actually, that won't happen, because after 1 minute, one of us will make a noise and you'll have to stop. But it can run away with you quite easily. So yes, definitely keeping to time. Right. What else? So let's talk a little bit about. I'll cover slides really quickly, because good slide deck can really work. A couple of obvious things. Minimal information on the slides. Okay, it might feel like it's best to include as much as you can, but it will overwhelm your audience. You can add additional information in your in the notes, whether you're using PowerPoint, whatever format you're using. I'm a real fan of what's a good number of slides. I mean, depending on the time, I'm going to say like 3 at the most. But obviously don't cram lots of information in there. I guess it depends. You could do a 1-slide presentation, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But with that in mind, there is an argument for bringing more than you show. So you could have a slide deck which is 2 slides or 1 slide. It's very simple. But then the subsequent, you've maybe got 20 more which you don't show, but they're still in the deck, of data, evidence, other useful stuff, images. And so depending on, and this means you can be more flexible. So depending on the format, let's say you've got a little bit longer and someone says, oh, could you show us some of that data? The great thing in PowerPoint is you can jump to any slide by just hitting a number on the keyboard and enter. So you could, if you've got a printed index, you can see, oh yeah, slide whatever 34 has that exact thing. So you go 3, 4, enter, and it jumps straight in, which is really cool. And then you can tell people, well, all of the research is in the slide deck, which I'll send you afterwards, and then they can look at it at their leisure. And it's good for a Q&A as well. So yeah, bring everything you think you might need, and then it's ready in your back pocket. You're very welcome. Only other thing with PowerPoint, yeah, it's just keeping it really simple. And I wouldn't really want you to have 2 versions, one with very little text on it. I'll just put stuff in the notes, because then you get a version control issue. But the other thing to go with that would be, I guess you just need to know it inside out. Part of me thinks it's good to have printed cues, but then that's another sort of layer and complication. I think for a really small or really short piece, memorizing just some keywords, just those key headings. And here's the thing, when it comes to delivering it, make it different every time, right? It doesn't have to be a verbatim script. Have some fun with it, reword it, keep it fresh for you. It might be, I mean, in all likelihood, if you make it conversational, which I think it should be, you'll probably finish and think, oh, I didn't mention that funny bit in the second section. Doesn't matter, they didn't know. It'll come out in the Q&A. Much better to deliver something that's sort of 80% there, have some fun with the 20%, and for it to be conversational, and in which case you look very credible. Much better that than delivering a perfect script, and then, because you'll probably trip over it and you'll stress about delivering a perfect script, but also it'll be a little bit wooden. Oh, and one example which Tony has given me, which it still blows my mind a bit, is he says, as a surgeon, he aims for 90% perfection. And when he said that, and I didn't mind calling him out in front of a large audience, I just simply said, what are you talking about? But he defended it well, of course he did. Because he said, if you're trying to finesse that last 10%, that's when you make mistakes. I think liberating yourself from that pressure of trying to be perfect is definitely the way to go. On the day itself, something will happen unexpected, but honestly, the audience doesn't know. They don't know what you were going to say necessarily. So have some fun with it. Okay, right. So let's talk about delivery then. So you've got your piece. Feels like it works. Feels like it's a good sequence. It feels like it's a good sort of argument, good pitch. How to engage your audience. So in terms of structure, we've worked out there's, you know, some good questions you can ask at the beginning, hit them with a good statistic, good story, your ethos, some pathos. I mentioned non-verbal communication, and some of you will probably know a lot more about some of this than I do. I've definitely just, you know, picked this up through experience, but I'm fascinated with the first impression. So here's a question for you. How do you make a great first impression? This is for any speaking engagement, but I'm thinking particularly with a pitch. Bingo. Yes, Matt. Smile, friendly. Yes, warm, good. And the other thing, eye contact. Well done. Oh my God, you're on fire. That is amazing. Yeah, just looking as if you're pleased to be there. Excuse me. I think sets up a positive feedback loop. And of course, this has to come from rehearsal, right? So rehearsal is your friend. Rehearsal will save you on the day. But if you've done your rehearsal, you really know your stuff. Yes, and then your opening statement. But immediately before that, the pitch starts as soon as they see you, right? So as you appear, looking interested in the audience, engaging them, you might feel terrified inside, but if the signals you're sending out are, I'm pleased to be here, I'm interested in you, I'd like to think the audience infers from that, you know what you're doing, we're in a safe pair of hands, this is going to be good, and this is wonderful. If, on the other hand, you flounder, and I appreciate, you know, it's not going to be a perfect pitch necessarily, depending on what stage you're at, but if there's a bit of faffing around with the technology, or you don't engage people in that way, it's entirely possible your audience thinks, yeah, this isn't going to be any good. We're not, you know, we're not convinced. They don't trust you or even like you, perhaps, to begin with, so you're very much on the back foot. You could turn it around, but chances are it would be difficult to come back from. So in that first moment, smile, eye contact. If it's online, then looking at the lens, I make sure I've got a camera set up. I've got it lined up between me and my monitor, which is really good. With with only a few people in your audience, of course, you can be looking directly at them. But if it's a big audience, then keeping everyone topped up with eye contact is really important. And if you send out those signals of, I'm happy to be here, I'm excited to share something with you, with a bit of luck, your audience will kind of light up, and you'll see them smiling, and you think, thank God, they do love me, and then you're in a good place. And I'm sure many of you will know that act of smiling and that act of standing in a way that feels confident is then kind of self-fulfilling, and it kind of convinces your subconscious that actually I enjoy doing this thing. So even if you are deeply uncomfortable and your heart is racing, which incidentally is completely normal, then it still works, and it can be very powerful. So starting big with that performance, I think, is really important. Now, of course, you should be authentic and you should be you, but going out there and really going for it is wonderful. In fact, last year, so I've got to tell you that I found this really funny. Oh, make a joke, right? That's right. I'm going to have to take you to task over that. There's a tricky one. Last year there was a lady, and you have to remind me, Tamsin. I think she's Italian, quite short, and she was first up, and it's just a
Lucrezia, was it? Was she doing the heart thing?
She was, I can't remember, but she was much shorter than Tony. There was a sort of amazing disparity, but she went first. She was keen to go first. So
Dina.
Dina, that's it. Thank you. That's it. So she was really nervous, but she said, I want to go first. I want to get it done. So we're like, good, because no one wants to go first. And this is brilliant. So she gets up there to speak, and Tony, being Tony, goes, hold on a minute, I just want to say something quickly. And so he's talking and he's saying, yeah, you know, it's really important you do this. And all the while, I've done my bit. I've done, like, you know, a couple of hours, and I'm just watching. So did you say Adina?
Dina, just Dina.
Dina. So I'm watching Dina, and I can see, like, she's really nervous, and like Tony's going for like a couple of minutes, but it feels like ages, right? You know, for her. And then he goes, right, so Dina, are you ready to, you know, how are you feeling? And I'm not joking. She looks up at him and just says, I can't feel my hands. And I just folded over because so, you know, that can happen. And it was fine, and it was great. But yeah, in that moment, your heart will be racing, and that's completely normal. So just in terms of delivery, then really quickly, I mentioned making a joke, taking you to task over that. What I mean is, I think doing like a gag or like a bit might not be a good idea. There's a risk associated with that, believe me. But having a light touch and just mentioning what's going on, great, right? And you could talk about something really seriously, I believe, still with a light touch and still have almost laughs. So you're not aiming for the laughs, but you're enabling them to happen. And I'm very proud of the fact that when I do sessions, particularly the last couple of pit stops, we've had a lot of laughs. But that's because I'm talking about what's happening in the room and just mentioning things like Dina or the arms falling off the chairs, which I seem to remember from a couple of years ago. I was so pleased about that. Right. I mean, to get out of an awkward moment. Yeah, exactly. Yes, it's making light of the thing. That's fine. I just thought you had some line about you've got a classic that you're starting off with. So yeah, I think you can have fun with it. I think talking about the moment and analyzing what's going on just in a very light way can be really effective. Right, anything else on delivery? Yeah, I guess a key point. I guess I've been speaking fairly quickly. A lot of the advice I give generally to people is to slow down. And I appreciate with a minute limit, you're probably thinking, well, I need to get this stuff out. But honestly, yeah, most people will speak much too quickly. And for a pitch, I think you can definitely keep it nice and slow, maybe even use good pauses. There's also the technique of actually slowing right down so that when you get to the end of the sentence, you've almost completely stopped. That can feel counterintuitive because you're thinking, I want to get this out there. I need to give them as much information as possible. But honestly, it lands much more, much better. Okay. Oh, yes. Right. Here's the thing. So I went to a games development conference last week in Brighton, and I saw two speakers who were giving quite long talks, apologizing too much. And this drives me absolutely nuts because I think people think sometimes that it's sort of a sort of endearing self-deprecation. Sorry everyone, I'm rubbish at this, or sorry. Like, please don't do that. Right? Please don't apologize for getting up there and delivering your thing. You can say, oh, this is new for me. That's fine. But yeah, please don't demean yourself because it doesn't do anyone any favors. And I think honestly, when you do that, if you say, oh, I'm not very good at this, or I'm sorry, you might find this boring, then you persuade your audience that indeed you aren't good at it and you're not credible. So please don't do that. Go out there and own your abilities. Right. I want to talk a little bit about mindset, nerves versus excitement. So again, I may be preaching to people who know this stuff inside out, but I think it's worth mentioning. I think the idea of you've got nerves on the one hand, which are terrible things. We shouldn't have nerves. And then we've got excitement on the other, which is this wonderful positive. And as we know, it's precisely the same thing physically. I think there's a lot you can do to tell yourself the useful information and sorry, vital stuff. So the first one I think is really important is your fear is part of the process. It's completely normal. And what I see time and time again is people having this revelation of like, oh, everyone's nervous. Like everyone hates doing this, and of course they do, right? You care about the result. You can't predict the result. You want to do well. You want to impress your audience, but naturally you feel uncomfortable with it. Don't think for a moment that that confident speaker that you can see is without any nerves. They've basically reached the point where they can live with it, basically. And I think the confidence and the logic obscures the nervousness and the fear, but the fear will always be there. And I think it's a good thing, right? It shows you care. And I would look at it as a limitless source of energy, right? It's an important thing. It's good. It drives you to do your best. And but I think it's funny because I think there's a little part of us, just like something in the back of your mind, that before you get up to speak with something, an important situation, a little part that thinks, I might die. Just like a little tiny bit, I'm not sure, but it feels like there's a danger of death here. And that is completely normal. And Rick Hansen, who some of you might have heard of, said that our brains are like Velcro for bad experiences and Teflon for good ones, which I think is wonderful. And it's right. We have a negativity bias, and I guess the argument is, in evolutionary terms, we survived because we worried about stuff. But of course, now that's not a useful way of of preparing for things. So reminding yourself of the positive truths, I think, is really important. Please tell me, what are maybe 5 really useful truths that you can remind yourself of before you give a pitch? I'm thinking of the kind of thing that a trusted friend or colleague, they're not just going to say, oh, you'll be brilliant. They're going to give you something that's a little bit more useful. We are all human. Yes, you're a person. You're going to talk to some other people. Nobody's perfect. Arguably, they want to see you being relatable and interesting. And if there's a flaw there, it probably works to your advantage. For goodness sake, remember to breathe. Yes. Everything's accelerated, heart rate's accelerated. If you slow down your breathing, you'll slow down your heart rate. You will make yourself calmer. You have something to say. You absolutely deserve to be there. You've got something worth talking about. I mean, honestly, I see a lot of talks where people are talking about something terrible, right? It's just some commercial nonsense. It doesn't really matter. Maybe in that sphere it does, but here you're actually delivering something that really has benefit. Think about who you're creating solution for. Yes, it's okay to fail. They don't know what you're going to say, so if you fluff it, exactly. Which goes back to what I said before. Like, you'll miss something out. They didn't know, and so you can get away with it. Yeah, I think go out there and have some fun is good. I mean, that's what we used to say to each other as stand-up comics, is like, have fun, right? You're kind of giving, which was kind of giving us an out. If it didn't go well, then at least you enjoyed yourself. I think you're physically safe. It'll be over soon is a good one. They want you to do well. They're on your side, right? And you've got something worth talking about. You're ready, you're prepared is also a really good one. Now, of course, you can only say that if you are prepared. So if you've put in the work, then you can remind yourself of that. Thank you. Fear and excitement produce the same physical symptoms. Exactly. So focus on the excitement. It's good that you're wired. And I appreciate feeling nervous or excited in itself can be a little bit intimidating. Yes, be proud of your achievements. We probably wouldn't talk to other people the way we talk to ourselves, but listing out those things, accepting who you are fully, looking at what you've done to get there is brilliant. So yeah, having pride in that. Wonderful. Very good. Thank you for throwing those things in there. Enjoy it. I still come back to that. I just think, go out there to have fun, and I think you'll send out the right kind of energy, and then people will see that enthusiasm, because that's what we want. Right. Anything else? So just probably just a couple more bits, and then I'm going to ask you to pitch. Last thing then I would say is being in the moment and kind of noticing what's going on. I've kind of cultivated this through probably 100 hours of stage time, of just noticing what's going on and being able to measure. Do I mention that? Do I call it out? A technique which stand-up comics use is to kind of do a little analysis as you go along. So as I said, I'll point things out and say, oh yeah, this has happened. That can be a nice way of interacting with the audience, just saying, oh yeah, you lit up for that. Was there something there that you were interested in? But just going with it. I think it's the Eisenhower quote of, I've always found planning to be essential, but plans to be useless. Like, being ready, having all the stuff there is great, but on the day, go with it. Something unexpected will happen, and chances are the audience won't be aware of it. Okay, right. I think that's all the key things I wanted to say. Karen, I've been distracted by your dog, who's been moving around. Obviously, it needs some attention. They've gone now. They've vanished. But is that a Springer Spaniel? I'm good. You can't teach that.
Yeah, crazy Springer Spaniel, and a German Shepherd down here. So.
Oh, that's trouble. Does the Springer have to bring you things? Have they got a toy that they like bringing you? Yeah. Classic gun dog. Okay. Right. I mean, I would choose someone, but there's so many people with their cameras off. I don't know. I'm going to ask for a volunteer. Who will give a pitch? 1 minute. Safe space. This is invaluable. You'll get feedback from someone who claims to be professional, and from your peers, which can be really, really useful. Anyone want to have a pop? Oh, hands raised, hands raised. Well done. Sorry, I didn't see. Right, I don't know who was first, but Karen, it's you. I'm choosing you. So off you go, and I'm going to time you just out of interest.
My name's Karen. I'm a respiratory nurse consultant. I have been there 37 years and also a lifelong asthmatic. The huge problem that I'm trying to address is helping 400 million people who have chronic respiratory disease worldwide, who really suffer from breathlessness, become physically inactive, and it really affects the quality of life and mental health. So I did some research for my PhD, and now I've developed a digital program to try and help scale up the intervention to help with the breathlessness, physical inactivity, and mental health. We've had some investment with GSK and won a Digital Innovation Award with Asthma and Lung UK. And they spent a fortune evaluating it. They loved it. And now we have it available for patients. And what we need is to scale it up so that more people can get it across the world.
Hey, wow. Awesome. Loved it. Loved it. Right. Really quickly, feedback. What did people think? Did you get it? Did you like it? I mean, I understood it, which is quite a thing. Excellent pitch. Very good. Right. That's good. But please qualify. Please qualify. Give a great story. Okay, good. Yeah, qualify your compliments, because that will really help. Passion. Yeah. You have a thing. What, okay, is that, what does that mean?
An app, do you think?
Is this a reminder that's the Karen's thing? Okay, personal and professional story, mentioning achievements, impressive. Yeah, an app. Right, good. Oh, hang on, I didn't catch the 400. Oh, right. So I was just thinking there wasn't a stat in there. I beg your pardon. So I was typing and I can't type and listen. So what I got was GSK. They loved it. Like, that's a clang. Nice medal there. Let's drop in some credibility with that. I really like it. So forgive me, I didn't realize there was a stat there. So what was that? 400 million?
Yeah, people worldwide with this.
Right. Good. Okay, cool. Yeah, great. And then there was an ask at the end, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Good.
Need to scale it out.
Okay, so someone had some of the background. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, so I like that. I think that, well, for one, well, how long do you suppose that took, Karen?
A minute.
Yeah, I've got 55 seconds. Yeah, that's brilliant. So that's really good. Like, often, people will, that's fine. I mean, you wouldn't have got into trouble, but it's, it's good to have that. But it's great to get used to that and have a sense of, this feels like this is the right amount of time. I mean, you know what it's like. The more senior someone is, the less information they want. And you will have someone who says, I'm quickly going into meet, just tell me what's your thing. And they literally just want like 10 words, which feels ridiculous. But we help with respiratory disease, and we've got, and GSK are on board. They're like, okay, good. And they'll remember that. Great. Yeah. Any other thoughts?
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's the first time I've done it.
Oh, really?
Oh,
really?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So that's impressive. So because honestly, I thought that felt like it was, tried and tested. What would you change anything about it in a subsequent version?
No, I didn't know whether to put in the sort of outcomes, because we have got outcomes, but I thought I'll not have time, so I didn't. But if I had more time, then I could maybe say what the outcomes currently are from patients. So
I think it's great. I think for that time limit worked really well. You didn't have to go too fast. Yeah, cool. Well done. Kudos.
Brilliant. Thank you. Apologies, I have to go, so I'm going to go back to the recording and watch the rest. So apologies, everybody.
Well
That's why I wanted to get in first. Thank you so much.
Brilliant. Well done. Cool. Right. I think now you see in Teams it numbers the hands raised in sequence, but I believe I'm going to go with Helen next. Is that okay?
Super. Thank you. So, using slimming clubs, I've changed my weight over and over, always witnessing natural social prescribing in these weekly groups, people caring about each other's well-being. Preventive health engagement is at a very low level. Only 1 in 10 eligible people engage with their NHS health checks or their diabetes structured education referral. Many believe that weight change targets often account for these low engagement levels. Hi, I'm Helen from Nutriri. Our name means to nurture, and for 10 years we've been gathering the experiences of citizens and our brilliant healthcare workforce to figure out how we can rebrand weight management into health management together. We have created training and a community, 2 separate but aligned MVPs that have been well piloted and now poised to establish our first social franchises. We're planning for a Nutriri weekly meetup group in every neighbourhood, slimming clubs into health hubs. Do you have a service that needs to improve its community engagement rates? Please get in touch.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Almost exactly a minute, so well done. Brilliant. Right, very good. Okay. Yeah, right, thoughts? Any feedback? And again, like, please qualify. Like, if there's a particular thing you like, then say what it was. Oh, look, I'm just looking at the chat. So, best for who you are. Well, I mean, what Helen did there is good. Like, here's the thing, here's the problem, and then this is me, the intro. Great. I like that. Yeah, oh, sorry, that's what you've just said. Yes, like the name introduction. Yeah, I like that. You can do it either way, but it's just going straight in with the thing is great. Now, I noticed you were reading a script, so I kind of picked that up. Now, I appreciate in person, I guess you're not going to do that, so maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe I don't need to call it out.
Yeah, it's an attention thing. So I tend to change it every time I do it and can go over. So I have to do a script. I will try and once I settle on the script that I like, I will rehearse and rehearse and rehearse. But for now it has to be scripted just as a time reasonable adjustment.
Okay, what I would recommend, however, is if you can have it if you can reword it a little bit each time, it does make a difference, because even though, okay, in this case you were reading it and I could tell, but if you rehearse it a lot, even if you're not reading it, it might come out as this thing that you've said many times before. So I'm just saying, just, be wary of that. But I appreciate you want to get everything right. But yeah, I would try tweaking it just a little bit, just each time, just mix up the order a little bit maybe. But yeah, I like that. So rebranding, weight management. Yeah, you said about 2 MVPs, so that's great. And then that's quite a mission. Brilliant.
10 years at it so far.
Nice. Oh, that's good. Oh, hang on. I'm just thinking that's a good thing to mention, but I'm thinking, is that a good thing to mention? It's fine. I'm going to assume it is a good thing to mention.
Yeah, I did mention it, but I've taken Chris's points here about the solution wasn't very compelling, because in a minute it's hard to get across that 10 years of lived experience gathering with the workforce and with citizens to create what needs to come next. So yeah, but thanks for the feedback. Thank you.
It's a good point, and I'm guessing that what I'm imagining, just quickly as a response, would be that image of an actual group actually doing stuff. I go, okay, there it is. Even if it's just one group, then there's a thing happening. But I don't know.
But can I just say, it is just about changing and rebranding it, because there's fantastic work that happens in health management, but we call it weight management stupidly.
Okay, right. So I didn't grasp that. That's the thing. Yeah, okay. Good. Okay, cool. And any other thoughts? Anything else? Oh, hang on. Oh no, that's the one we've already seen. Yeah, good. And yes, and then get in touch. Get in touch at the end. Let's chat. Good. Right. Diane, it's your time.
Hi, I would like to talk to you about endometriosis. It currently affects 1 in 10 women in the world. In the UK, we have 1.5 million women suffering with this debilitating condition, and it takes as long as 8 to 10 years for a diagnosis, where quite often women feel dismissed and belittled throughout this journey, and even have used words like gaslit. So I am creating a pre-consultation tool that is based on peer-reviewed research that will potentially have up to 90+% accuracy. This is being created with people with lived experience and with clinicians that will see it in their clinics. So if I can save just one appointment for those 1.5 million women at the cost of £220, that alone would save £6,818,000 today. And my name is Diane, and I have 25 years experience in the NHS, and I see lots of bottlenecks and areas where this could be used and improved. And any questions? And I've never done that before.
That's right. That was great. You had, I think you could have finished with and saved £6.6 million and that exact amount, and then that's it, and then the end. But that was great.
Yeah. Then I thought I didn't say who it was. I don't know if I said who it was.
Yeah. No. Then you came with that then, but that's fine. But look, it's a first go. That's brilliant, right? You've got compelling, a challenge, and you got lots of great stats in there. And yeah, that 8 to 10 years, like that sounds horrific. Like I'm beyond, I don't know, beyond a year. Like and then you're talking about the way that women are treated as well. Like that's yeah, like you said, if you can fix one, and sort one of those out, brilliant. But then you come down to it's the here's what is it? What feels like it's goodwill. We'll do this, but then you go, well, we'll save all this money. Like it's a nice double whammy of like, even if you don't care, here's the money aspect. Great. Yeah, I really like that. And do you know what? Even the sort of the appendix of your experience and who you are, arguably that could come afterwards, right? You've got that killer offering, and they go, yeah, tell us about you. So yeah, I think there's I'm not sure if I should say it, but I think there's something there of like not having the intro. If it's, I don't know. I might change my mind about that, but
it might distract from the subject matter.
Yeah, I mean, I've said, talk about your experience and your credibility, but I'm honestly, when you delivered that, I just assumed you absolutely know what you're talking about, and then I can find out all those details later. So it's like a good, it is a good pitch or a good intro inspires lots of questions that come after that, and that can be the extra information. It's a headline, isn't it? Which then gets us to read the subheading. What else? Pre-consultation 2, 90% plus accuracy. Brilliant. And really good. I really like that. Right. Anyone else give some feedback? What did you think? Did you get? And I've no idea about what it was. I wasn't aware of that as a condition. And here's my expertise. I know that endo possibly means outside, but
outside the uterus. I suppose I shouldn't be giving you homework, John, but do read a little about it. If you it's.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll have a look. I like it. Becky, you've got to give more. I need more. I want specifics. I love it. It's good. It's positive. But and that's good. But yeah, just a specific would be really good. Okay. So again, first go, brilliant. And I think this kind of forum is just so useful where we force you to do it. The stats, excellent, thank you. And then I'm surprised.
Yeah, I just worked out the price there now. I only found that out today, £220, and that's in Northern Ireland, so I'm not sure if it's UK. So I had the calculator there working that out, that it was how many million saved.
Yeah, brilliant. But it's the time. I mean, I'm looking at that thinking just that is I can't fathom.
Well, there's other information on average, women go to the GP as often as 10 times. So this could reduce it down to 1. So you're saving 9 GP visits as well.
That's right. Do you enjoy repeatedly visiting your GP and waiting for years? Me neither.
Suffering.
That just seems obvious. I mean that should be an obvious appeal to whether you're pitching it. Brilliant. Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, love it. Hang on, there's a couple of things there. Women's health focus is still lacking. Yeah, and also you said gaslighting, and I was like, oh man, like that. Yeah,
that's the word that has been used to me. I don't have the condition, and it's been used many times. So that's their experience, John. So that's very sad. As a employee of the National Health Service, that's very hard to take.
It's
to be
really
part of that.
Yeah, it's deeply unpleasant. And hey, what a great, it's a great hook. I'm sorry, but it's a powerful thing to use. Okay, yeah, so someone's contributed there with the stat. Yeah.
Okay, 250. Okay, can see that.
Yeah, brilliant. Cool. Good. Great stuff. Right. Let's do another one, and then I'll throw it open to questions. So we might only have time for one more. Oh, by the way, that was 1:20, but I reckon you could fit, if you did want to have it exactly a minute, you could finish with saving, and I love that you have that exact number, right? You just went right down to, and 34 pence, right? But but again, that shows you're meticulous and you've done your homework, right? Which is kind of almost the most important thing. Right, let's have another. Has anyone else raised their hand? Diane, you can digitally lower your hand or lower your digital hand. So it doesn't matter. The Teams thing is really good, so I'm going to come back to that. I love Zoom, but Teams, it numbers the hands, prioritizes them. Really, no one else wants to take this massive opportunity. It's going to go soon. It's going. The door is closing. Unbelievable. Okay. Honestly, even in the rough, you've seen people who've never delivered before, and even if you give it a really just quick go, it could be handy. Please, yeah, exactly. Diane wants you to do it. No, that's fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, oh, sorry, Becky's just
Go,
raised
go,
her
go.
hand. I was just going to say some people might have earlier stage ideas, and that's absolutely fine, even if you want to give it a go. There's others with more developed ones, but anybody's welcome, aren't they, John? So
Yeah,
yeah.
but Becky stepped up. Becky has the courage, the heroism to do it. Right, off you go, Becky. So the floor is yours.
So this is a really new thought. I've never done this before. However, I'm a midwife with 35 years, and mental health, perinatal mental health is really large in the NHS at the moment. Women are unfortunately dying because of suicide. It's the second highest reason why women die following pregnancy in the postnatal period. And that hasn't changed for the last 10 years. So one of the things that I am keen to do and bring to the table is a health app, but it's around hypnosis, it's around mindfulness. There are lots of apps out there at the moment, but I don't know how many are midwife-led. Also, antenatal education classes were stopped during COVID. They all went online and they're not in the NHS anymore. So those are the two pictures that I want to bring to the table, and to make it better for women to give birth and not be afraid, not be at risk of dying because of being pregnant.
Powerful stuff. Love it. And my immediate thought is that we see death, obviously through childbirth, but via childbirth, as that's ancient. That's ancient. That doesn't happen. Well, I've got news for you. It does happen, and powerful stuff. Yeah,
So, as I said, that's the first time I've done it. First thoughts of putting my ideas out there. So, thank you very much for listening.
Great. I mean, yeah, that really blew my mind. I guess the key thing I'm thinking, so amazing thing to tackle. I didn't know about the antenatal classes been online, and it just, yeah. But now you've told me, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
And because that's easier, isn't it? Yeah, that's the main thing. As long as it's easier, or cheaper or whatever. So I guess my initial thing, and this is, it's not my area of expertise, would be like, what's already out there, and would an app, really do it? But it's like you said, if you've done that research and you found out there isn't anything else midwife led, then yeah. But again, that's not my area of expertise. But yeah, that's impressive. And that was 1 minute and 8 seconds.
Okay.
So again, it doesn't have to be exactly a minute, but again, it's good to.
I waffled a bit.
You did not. You did not. It was all good information. No, that was great. Yeah, that was wonderful. Right. Impactful. Yes, very compelling. Yeah. No waffle at all.
Ron.
No, it was all good, dense information. I mean, it was rich in information. So yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's just, but you just had me when you just said, this is the problem. Like, I'm already on board. I want to know what you can do. So brilliant. Right.
Thank you.
Well done. I mean, and for all of you, like, try it out on other people. Like, go and do this again, even if you think you haven't got something formed. Try it out with someone. Just tell them, I want you to just have a listen to this. It'll take about a minute. Tell me what you think. And there could be some really good basic feedback, like, I don't understand it, or I don't know what this term means, for argument's sake. What's this thing? I don't see the point. And that can be really useful as a quick bit of feedback to fix it. But actually, I've got to say, with all of these, I understood it, I got it, and I was on board. So yeah, brilliant. Okay, so now well, about 5 minutes or so, or a little bit more, Q&A. Ask me stuff. Ask me a question about anything to do with what we've talked about today, with pitching. Yeah, fire away. You can put it in. I mean, you could just unmute, switch your camera on and ask me. Crazy, right? Or you can type it. But feel free to jump in. You can use the digital hand raise. Max, I see you. Oh, I've got to ask you, Crinion.
Yeah.
What is that? What's the derivation of that? Sorry, this is just for me.
It's a very old French name.
I knew that. Crignon. Lovely. Right, I got it. Sorry. It's cool. Right, yes, far away.
Yeah, so basically I know you were speaking about experience and credibility. Unfortunately, I'm into my third year of student nursing, so there's not much experience behind me. I'm very new to the thing. The only thing I would have to my name is I recently just won the Enterprise Ireland Student Entrepreneur Awards. I got second place in the country. So that's about it.
Clang. Yeah, open with that. That's your thing. That's like, you're really lucky. You've got, well, not lucky, you've earned it, but what a great thing to have. Yeah, I'm a student. I won this award. Cool. Right. Well, that's it. Done. Yeah. So, but it's a good point, and yeah, I appreciate if someone doesn't have a lot of experience, then you just talk about where you're at, talk about what you've done. Maybe it's more about your background, and it's just what you're studying, and it doesn't. Yeah, you're just at the beginning of your adventure and your journey. But with you, Max, where you've got your award, yeah, just mention that straight in. Brilliant.
Like lean into progress I've made so far.
Definitely. Yeah. And so just out of curiosity, would you hesitate to mention that?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course you would. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So please don't, right? Just come straight out with it. Here's the thing. Here's what I've got. Brilliant. Get over the experience by knowing the problem you're trying to solve inside out. Yeah, you've done your research. And again, it comes back to that non-verbal. It's like, if you come across as diligent and we get what you're about and what your style is, then that's, I think that counts for a lot. Because yeah, they're investing in you as much as the idea, right? Don't have any credible outcomes to your solution yet. Yeah, I mean, yeah, as long as you're not making stuff up, right? You go, right, this is where we're at. We haven't got anything yet. We're working on it. We're just at the beginning. Brilliant. Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. So yeah, I don't see a problem there.
Yeah, and also for my solution, it's, as I was saying earlier in the chat, to people I'm pitching to, don't necessarily know that it's happening. So for me, it's to do with observations, which is something that's performed commonly by nurses, and to do specifically with respiration rate monitoring, which unfortunately ends up either being done incorrectly or sometimes doesn't get done. So it's just a solution to this. However, I presume yourself, you don't know what observations are.
No. I mean,
yeah. So for example, any nurse I've spoken to, like, immediately know the problem and immediately get it. Whilst, for I've spoken to a few people high up in the HSE and a few CEOs and managing directors, and of course it's going to take 5 or maybe 7 minutes to fully explain and understand the idea.
Do you have any stats on the results of missed or incorrectly performed observations?
Well, I found a few stats regarding it's complete about 17% of the time correctly. 17.
Yeah.
In terms of outcomes, it's mainly personal statements to the outcomes. However, I don't want to like focus on the negative side of this. I'd rather focus on the solution to it.
Oh yeah, but you should definitely present. You know, if there's a big problem, present that to begin with. This is the problem. This percent, if you've got it, and again, this, I'm visualizing Tony. I can't help it. You know, this percentage of observations, so it's respiratory observations, wasn't it? Are performed incorrectly. This percentage aren't even done at all as a result. And even if that result, that stat is, I don't know, dissatisfied or unhappy patients, like, you know, there's clearly a problem. But I'm sure there's a better stat of, you know, there's a big risk here. I think anyone would understand that. You wouldn't have to explain it. And again, I mean, I understand what respiratory and observation means, but you know, maybe the precise nature. But I think there's probably a good way of describing that in a really simple way. Worst health outcomes. There you go. That's a That's
no. Some of the personal testimonies have been patients either you know, indirectly passing away due to this not being done, or getting very ill because of this and requiring ICU admission due to it. And I found a rough stat that it costs the HSE roughly 27,000 euros per month per patient.
That per patient?
Per patient, yeah.
Okay, right. Okay, that's but that's, I mean, sorry, I was gonna say that's brilliant. So that's terrible. But if you've got that stat, like anything like that is because again, it's, you know, I feel like for us, you know, we find that there's that emotional connection of like here's a large group of people who are suffering, and whoever you're pitching to, however they, you know, appear to respond, it's going to be the amount of money and time that's saved, right? That's the killer. So if you've got that stat, you could save this amount every month. You know, that's could kind of, I mean, I know it's, you know, health is the key thing, but the bottom line is, yeah, again, that's a sort of good double whammy, I think. So yeah, having that stat to hand is brilliant. Okay, great. Well done, everyone.
Thank you.
Yes, yeah, and well done. Yeah, that's great.
Could I just say to Max, like, your voice is so important as a student nurse, and with that experience, no one else is a student nurse. No one understands the things that you understand. And quite a lot of being able to pitch is just knowing that what you have to say is hugely important. What you had to say then is hugely important. That's 1 in 5 almost of patients where that's incorrectly done. And we need to know that stat, because then that affects the whole care of that person. And as you say, that might end up in them dying. You've got a fantastic perspective. You are knowledgeable, and of course you're going to gain more knowledge, but you've already got that. You're making everybody online think it's great. But I think that sometimes the problem is ourselves thinking that we can't pitch, isn't it? That maybe other people know better than us. But sometimes your voice is important to pitch.
Thank you.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay. Yes, good. So yeah, Jenny, did you want to
Yeah, there was just one quick question from Mamina in the chat. She just said, what could you mention if you don't have any credible outcomes to your solution yet? But I suppose we've touched on it a bit there, but
I think it's just it's whatever you've got, which would be, you know, your experience and the work that you're doing. Yeah, credible outcome is brilliant, but yeah, you're working towards that, you know, and as soon as you've got that, then you're good. Yeah. All right.
thank you so much, John, and thank you so much to everybody that asked a question and pitched as well. You're all fantastic. So I'll just to wrap up, I'll just share my screen a moment. Sorry, John, I don't know if you wanted to add anything else then, and I jumped in.
That's all good. No, I'm done.
Lovely. One moment. So as this is the last webinar in the series, sorry, I'll just share my screen. There we go. So just for those of you, I know there are some entrepreneurs who are part of our program on the call today, which is fantastic, but for those of you who aren't as familiar with the program and you want to see others pitching sort of in action, it's really worth looking at our YouTube channel. So just type in NHS CEP YouTube channel, because we have got a recording of our recent event called The Big Pitch, where a selection of entrepreneurs stood up on stage and pitched their innovation. So it could be worth having a look at that Thank you, John. So that's just one thing you could take a look at. For those of you that maybe aren't connected with our programme, but you want to keep up to date with any sort of open events or opportunities that we share, you're very welcome to sign up to our newsletter. So if you have a look at our the homepage of our website, just scroll down and you'll see you can enter your email address for our mailing list. And if there's some of you who are perhaps interested in potentially applying, if you're eligible for a future application round, then all the information will be shared via that newsletter, or also on LinkedIn if you follow us on there. And then just a couple of pointers that, again, for those of you who are sort of new to innovation, you might want to take a look at. So the NHS Innovation Service, you can look at their website. They offer support, some advice, guidance, and you can also put in some details about yourself, what you're working on, and they can try and sort of match you up to relevant organisations that could help you. And then across England, there are 15 health innovation networks. So it could be worth having a look there to see what your local one is. They support sort of health teams, but also they provide some support to innovators as well. And then just along the bottom, just put a few books which you can hopefully see, some of which have been mentioned. I know you mentioned that Start with Why book actually today, John. And we've got those lean startup books as well that were mentioned in our last session. So there's just a few there that are probably, good reads to sort of, if you're starting out with your idea and trying to get to grips with what the problem is, and what's sort of spurring you on to develop your innovation. But thank you so much everybody for joining. As I said before, we have recorded these sessions, so if you have missed any, you can watch them back. Probably from next week they'll be available on our website. So I will stop sharing just in case anybody does have any final questions before we finish. But a huge thank you to John for speaking today, and thank you to the team for joining as well. And I think we will leave it there. I can't see any other questions at the moment, but thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. And yes, if you've attended all of the sessions, you will receive your CPD certificate via email. Okay. Thank you. Just stop recording.